All the roads are windy.
Welcome back to the show, Rohini. It is so fun to get to hang out with you again. And I know you and I could just talk. So excited to see where we go with our cosmic adventures today. Thanks for coming back.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for having me. I fell in love with you after our first conversation. So it's really excited to be here and continue it.
Awesome. We're going to have fun. Before we get started, would you like to lead us on an invocation?
Yeah, I would love it. So this invocation is just to help those who want to quickly align their energetic body. And so what you do is you sit comfortably, and you can have your eyes open or closed, but it really does help if you have your eyes closed. Then I want you to take a deep inhale through your nostrils and feel that air enter your body and go down the air tubes all the way down into your belly. Feel it filling up your belly, and hold it just for a few moments. And then you slowly let the air go. And you just need one of those breaths. So bring your attention to right in between your eyebrows, and you can bring your breathing back to its natural state. And just to ignite your third eye and align your energetic body, I want you to take 2 steps backwards in your mind's eye. And I want you to sit in this space and look around. Maybe look to the left, and look to the right, and look above, and look down, and notice anything that's there. Anything that you want, you can also bring into this space. Maybe you want to decorate it, put a chair there, put a picture up, whatever you want. This is where your alignment lives. So at any point where you feel a little off, or you feel like you need some extra help energetically aligning, you can always just close your eyes, take this deep breath, and take 1 step backward to this exact spot. All right. Now, bring your attention back to your eyebrows. Start fluttering your eyes open. Notice the area around your skin and how it feels after you do that. Just like the energy around your hands, maybe your toes. And I hope this helps you quickly align in the future.
Cool. Thank you. I've never taken a step backwards out of my body to look around, and that was very interesting, to say the least.
I learned this while taking classes with an amazing psychic teacher named Leon Phelps. And after I learned this trick, anytime where it's like, if I'm writing something, or if I'm working on my taxes, as we've been talking about, like if I'm doing anything that needs me to like energetically realign and come back to myself, I'll just close my eyes, take the deep breath, and do this. And I feel centered. It's been the most helpful little tool, and it's so easy.
It's really cool. It's really cool. I'm going to definitely play with it. Thank you for sharing that.
My pleasure.
Yeah. So we've had you on the show before, but things have kind of changed a little bit in terms of where you live. So I'm going to ask you the same questions I ask everyone. Who are your ancestors? Where are your lineages from?
So last time we talked about my ancestor. So my lineage is rooted in Persia, old school Zoroastrian Persia. And from what I understand, like my ancestors didn't move around very much, and they stayed.
They're like, we're here to stay.
We're Persian. I know. I've asked my mom, like, are there any other lineages attached to our blood? She's like, we're strictly Persian. We've just been Persian. Like, all right. But I found out recently, or maybe like not so recently, but recent-ish, that and I can't remember this person's name now. Oh my goodness. But my dad is related to one of the biggest mystics of Iran. And I will send you this person's name so that we can share it later. And I don't remember because it's a new piece of information I found out. But this person was like known to be super ultra powerful where you could like manifest anything, and he would help big villages, and he was like the right hand person to like the king at the time, and just this really big time, well-known mystic. And I was so excited and proud when I found out that I'm related to them. And the look in my dad's eye when he told me too, because he's like a medicine person. Like he's always like turned towards the world of mystic more than modern. He's like, no, I need to be over here. I need to go travel around in India and teach like, people how to like connect with their spirit. But yeah, when he found out about it, when he was telling me about it, his eyes were the happiest I've ever seen. Like it was amazing.
Wow. I mean, that is pretty psychedelic. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I was stoked.
That's
like, cool, mystic in my blood.
Exactly. Like, it's just already there. I mean, rad. That's awesome. And then where in the world do you live, and who are the people of that land?
Well, I just moved to Nevada City, which is Nicene territory, and it's gorgeous, beautiful, surrounded by trees. I'm feeling more and more grounded in myself since moving here from the buzz of the big city, and paying respects to the original landowners always.
It's so beautiful. What a beautiful area. I mean, California's beautiful, just saying.
This world is beautiful.
This world is beautiful.
Yeah.
I am particularly inclined to California. Love it. Yeah. Cool.
Yay.
So we've had you on the show before talking about Akashic Records. You've taught a workshop, very popular workshop on how to read your Akashic Records. And it's pretty cool to hear that you've been doing something a little bit different with the way you've been connecting with the Akashic Records for about a year now. Do you want to tell us what shifted from like what kind of questions you had been asking to what you started asking, and what's come out of that?
Absolutely. I've been a life student, and having a beginner mind is like one of the most important things to me. Like I don't ever want to think that I know everything about anything, because how boring would that be if there's nothing else to discover? And just to even have that, like, I know this, I know the whole thing about this. But anyway, in the process of my beginner mind and just being a life student, I realized like the importance of our gut feelings as well, right? So being a student doesn't mean we have to believe everything we're taught. It just means we're open to new information. And I spent a lot of time being a student of the Akasha, and I'm still a student of the Akasha, but something shifted within me in the last year where I was using the Akashic Records, or I really like to call it the Akasha. I was using the Akasha as a spiritual tool for healing. And it helped me so much. It really, really helped me. But at a certain point, I realized turning towards my shadow and the healing process continuously for long periods of time was disabling me rather than enabling me to.
Okay, tell me more about that.
Well, I mean, so we were talking about manifestation before we started recording, and how our subconscious is what's really creating our reality.
Right.
If our subconscious is constantly looking for things that are wrong, the shadow, what went wrong in our life, how can I fix this? How can I heal from this? That's a state we're going to constantly live in. And it's a painful one. If you're like me and you really want to play with your spiritual tools and like learn how, I don't know, to astral project and do all these fun, crazy things, looking at the dark side like brings in more darkness constantly. Or that's what I experienced personally. So I knew that I had to take a shift. I didn't want to keep healing you know? And I accepted myself as the broken, unhealed person that I am in this day.
Okay, wait. Oh, go ahead. What were you going to say? What were you
I was
saying?
just saying, like, I don't need to be fully healed to feel
Mhm.
whole. And I don't think that such a thing even exists to be fully healed.
I want to get in. I want to just take a little tangent detour down this because we're just happening, kids. Going for a ride. So like because I feel like I've had a similar thing. It's almost like, oh my gosh, if only I can get fully healed, then I won't have these problems. Or if only like I can dig up all the shadow and integrate it, then I won't face these problems anymore. Is like that kind of what maybe that internal thought process was for you, or that voice for you?
Absolutely. And I feel like, okay, so here's another tangent for you.
Okay.
You know, the idea of Carl Jung and shadow work and like that whole process is really good. And it's a really amazing discovery to bring up. But Carl Jung took this idea from the Vedas, and like the Vedas talks about the shadow and also the light. And a lot of times with these new age gurus and everyone's just like focusing on the shadow and not the light. So we don't have the yin and the yang, like, you know, we don't have the two elements. We're just going towards the darkness. And if anything goes wrong, usually the prescription is, well, you need to do shadow work. It's like, no, we don't need to constantly do shadow work.
This is so funny. Okay. All right. It's so juicy. This is such a turnaround from a few years ago where everyone was like, oh, what's shadow? Wait, and you mean it's not all love and light? You know, and now it's like, okay, the pendulum swung all the way to like, we're doing shadow, we're hopping, you know, like we're, you know, and it's like, oh, love and light are like dirty words now, you know, because like, oh, you can't just love and light your way to blah, blah, blah. And I've been tracking this as well. I've been tracking this kind of transition and the rhetoric and I think it's great because like when you first, I could see it like through, not that this is everyone's path, but I can see this through a progression of someone who's just like kind of secretly magic and they don't really know if there's anyone else out there like them. And then they discover like traditional law of attraction and they're like, oh, I got to keep my thoughts like high vibe. And they try to do all this like mental gymnastics to be high vibe. And then they realize, oh, wait, actually, whatever's happening in my unconscious and subconscious, that's my shadow. And that's actually what's affecting my manifestation. So now I need to do all this shadow work. And, you know, it's staying high vibe doesn't actually do anything for the shadow, which is really controlling my reality. And then they're like, okay, shadow work. And then it's like, wait a second. Then it's like, wait, why am I doing all this? Why am I even doing all this? Like, what's happening? Like, what if I would just live? And now I have all these tools so that me as this consciousness with this constant quote weather, I'll use like weather because it's so changeable, with all this weather that comes through us of thinking and feeling, now we have these tools to actually interface with them and be like, oh, what's this like downward spiral feeling? Maybe now it's time to like use a shadow work tool. But then it's like, oh, what's this dream inspiration? Now maybe it's time to use like a high vibe tool, and like to use these toolboxes instead of as the weather changes, you put on a different coat. I don't know. My analogy is not fully baked because I'm just baking it right here on the spot. But I'd love to hear like kind of what's landing for you and maybe what's not landing.
Everything you said is landing like right in its place, like puzzles falling from the sky, like right into its place. Because ultimately, like that's what I'm feeling too. And that's what I'm feeling like. We're not all the same and we're not all going through the same process all the time. We don't all need the same prescription of love and light or shadow. Like they both can exist at the same time, and we can use our inner compass. Like you're saying, like when a shadow comes up, let's freaking deal with it instead of love and light our way out of it.
Bypass it.
Yeah. But when we're feeling like love and light and really good, we don't need to dig up a shadow and like get rid of that feeling.
Yes. Thank you. Unless you want to, and then you're totally free to. Like, there's nothing wrong or bad with it. It's just, I think that it's so, you know, we're in the society we're growing up here, and at least the one I was raised in the United States here. so much is all about like, make sure you do the process right so you get the A pluses, so you get the job, you get into college, you get the da-da-da-da-da. And it's all about like, do the process right. And we're constantly being graded. And I think we keep grading ourselves on our spiritual work. And we're like, oh, am I doing the shadow work right? Like, you're like, oh, I'm so happy. I better dig something up because like, like there's just all of this internal control that we don't need. And dropping it is such a process. I mean, I'm still dropping that control.
Absolutely.
I'm like, wow, actually, I don't need to do this.
I feel like this is just coming out of nowhere too, but perhaps it's like we're uncomfortable with the present moment. And
our power, our actual immense power without needing to like, that is the present. Yeah, keep going.
No, I mean, that's it. It's like we need to constantly distract ourselves with something, and whatever is put in our way, and like whatever the guru's telling us to do, or whatever influencers telling us to do, we'll do it because we're uncomfortable sitting in this present moment and knowing who we really are and what we're capable of and all that magic, It's such a personal journey. Like there are no two souls that are going through the same exact thing on this planet.
Right. And then if we get into the multiverse and the infinite infinities, then shit just gets real weird fast.
Absolutely. And that's, like to go back to the initial part of this conversation, that's what I was starting to experience, like an overwhelm every time I open my records and I'm like, tell me about this?
How do I heal this core wound or trauma or whatever?
Yeah, because the more you zoom out, the more you're able to see. And like the more you're able to see, like the more overwhelming it becomes. It's like, maybe we're not supposed to go back and heal every single thing. And we're just supposed to I'm not supposed to, but we can. Let's just put it that way. I don't mean to like make people feel like they have to do something or not. But maybe we can take these things that have happened and turn them into the lessons they were supposed to be and learn from it and move on, Maybe the idea is moving on rather than constantly rehashing things that have already happened. And we know time is not linear. Yeah, we can go back and heal a wound from childhood that's affecting us today. And I think that's really important if we become aware of it. But all I'm saying is I don't think we need to go in search of it. Like, if it's
right, there's enough stuff showing up in the present. Like if you're in the present moment, you're going to notice the stuff showing up.
Yeah.
You don't need to find it. It's going to find you.
I did the laundry, but there's this like tiny little part of this whole like load that didn't get dry. So I'm going to put the whole load back into the washing machine and redo it. And like, I don't know if that analogy even works, but it just seems redundant. Like for me, it started feeling that way. So what I ended up doing is like, I'm going to stop trying to heal. And I'm going to accept myself as who I am, as broken as I may be. I'm so grateful to be alive right now. I was starting to feel like extremely suicidal from all this pain and like feeling an overwhelm of like, holy moly, like I have so much work to do, and
look how deep these wounds are. Will I ever heal them all?
No. I mean, the answer is like, no. Let them heal over time. But yeah, instead of asking about healing in myself, constantly putting like the magnifying glass on like shadow work and stuff like that, I started asking about the elements of the Akasha and what the heck is it? Why am I believing this? Like what is any of this? Like help me understand what this is.
What are you even working with here?
Yeah. Like,
I have a question. Before we get into that, I have a question just because from something you said, you're like, you stopped trying to do all this healing and you just accepted yourself as this like, wounds and all. And I wonder to you, what's the difference between healing and acceptance?
I feel like that's the same thing. You're right.
I feel like my personal experience has been so much of when something actually finally feels quote healed is because I've stopped othering it or resisting it or judging it or denying it and I've accepted it. That's shadow work right there. But it's like it's so, oh my gosh, the spiral.
It's all the same.
But then it's like this mindset shift though of like, oh, we need to dig it all up and heal it all now. We need to compost it all now so we can grow the garden. But it's like, actually you can like just plant a seed here and then the weed's going to grow over there and you can deal with it and you can compost that thing when it's dead. You don't have to compost it now. Like, yeah. Okay. I just wanted to check in and see what what was coming up for you around that.
Yeah. That's really helpful. The way you put it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Really
thanks for playing this game. Riding this ride.
Let's keep playing.
Feeling feisty today. Okay. Tell me about, this going in and asking questions about like what even is the Akasha. I think that's so cool and it's so exploratory, you know, and it sounds like even developing instead of it's just a tool now, it's like even developing a greater relationship and awareness with it.
Totally.
So tell me what were you asking? What happened? What was your experience like? What came up?
It's so strange. Like everyone receives insights, you know, in their own way. And the way it was happening to me was like I was being shown the exact answers of what I was asking about. And like, so I would go in and let's say, like, I'm really curious about masters, teachers, and loved ones, just to use as an example.
And for someone who's not familiar with masters, teachers, and loved ones, can you give us a brief description of what those are?
Yeah, of course. So this was coined by my teacher, Dr. Linda Howe, whom I love, and who taught me how to really tap into this realm. And she calls these energies who are giving us like the answers to our questions within the Akasha, the masters, teachers, and loved ones. And there's like a total sci-fi element to it where there's the lords of the records, and the lords of the records are the ones who are protecting the Akashic records. And then these masters, teachers, and loved ones go to the lords and the records and get information and bring it to us. And it's like, it sounds really cool. And it like blew my mind when I first learned about it. But as I was exploring the idea of the Akasha, what it is, its roots, and like all that, it started sounding weirder and weirder. And like, I think I zoomed out. I was like, oh, what? Masters, teachers, and loved ones going and bringing messages from the lords of the records? Why are energies protecting the...
I was wondering the same thing.
It's weird. So I started exploring that idea. So to put it frankly, the Akashic Records, again, we were talking tax talk earlier, but the Akashic Records are like a ledger where there's no emotional attachment. There's no entity. There's nothing
they're like an energetic ledger tracking what's happening.
Yeah, it's vibrational frequencies that have developed over time. And these vibrational frequencies are emissions from the ones we create. Like I feel sad, and then this becomes energy in the ether. And
it's like the universe's journal. It's like
it is
all of everything that's unfolding at every moment. It's writing it down, but
I know,
without go ahead.
Without emotion. Yeah, I want to be clear. Like there's no emotion attached to it.
It's just energetic. So it's like the vibration of sadness, but it's not like
it's not like this is
the judgment of sadness.
There you go.
It's the sensation versus the judgment.
Totally. And the way, so I'm like, well, then what the heck are the masters and teachers and loved ones if like this is just a ledger, right? And that there's no emotional attachment to it. It's just a document of what was, what is, and what possibly may be according to the what was and what currently is. So here's the coolest thing I learned. And again, I don't know everything, and I'm just relaying
just a cosmonaut.
What was shown to me from my travels in the ether.
Love it.
But so the masters, teachers, and loved ones, what was shown to me was that there's this like giant big energy. And this energy expanded and turned into two energies and then multiplied and multiplied and multiplied and multiplied, like the beginning of the universe, kind of, right? Like it's just, we're all an expansion of that original seed that started it all. and we'll keep multiplying and expanding, and it'll go on forever. But the masters are like the first energies from this initial expansion. And then the teachers are like usually the energies that live within like the planet that you live on. So let's say we live on this planet and there was like Nikola Tesla on this planet whose energy is melded in and with the information that's on the ledger of planet Earth.
Okay.
Right? So we can expand our knowledge by tapping into that energy and understanding this ledger a little bit better. And then loved ones are like the people we've known in this physical lifetime. Again, like Dr. Linda Howe explains, masters, teachers, loved ones a little differently, but I think this is the idea behind it. Loved one are people we've known in this lifetime who've passed on. So this is something we talked a little bit about too, is like when we meet somebody and somebody says something or somebody does something and it affects us, we take that piece of energy with us because energy is constantly being exchanged.
It's like an imprint of a pattern.
Imprint of a pattern. That's a really great way of putting it. Absolutely. So when we're calling on loved ones, it's that little imprint of the pattern from somebody who has expanded in a different way, you know, and using their lens to understand this ledger that our puny minds cannot see or understand, hear anything, right? So, yeah.
So the masters, teachers, and loved ones, they are actually just, they're the like go between our human mind in this three-dimensional. Are we now 4 or 5D? I don't know what the official is, but or at least I know I'm 3-dimensional at least. So like in our 3-dimensional world, possibly 5D. Okay, we'll just leave room for possibility. But like in our human experience, they are basically like, I almost see it as like downstepping the information so that we can consume it almost.
Yeah,
or like,
it's like a funnel kind of. Yeah. Just, I mean, when it all boils down to it, we are all like frequencies, vibrational frequencies. Like that's what we really are. Like when you zoom in on an atom, that's what we are. And that's what they are too. It's just,
we've collapsed our waves into these physical forms and we're living out this really weird thing called life on Earth.
Totally. But like to connect with them, it's like me sending you a text personally. So I'm sending it to the whole world. It's like, oh, I'm texting you to get an answer on this thing that I need help with. And they text you back.
I love that. I love that. This cosmic texting.
Yeah. Dude, it's cosmic texting.
Oh my God. I want people to like put a number, I wish there was like a spirit guides number and they could just like text their spirit guides,
I wonder. I bet somebody could do that.
I know, right?
There's an app for everything. Why is it an app? Why does an app for that?
I guess, you know what? We are the app. Our human technology is so powerful. We don't need an app.
Hell yes. Like we are the computers. That's what I keep saying too. Like the Akasha is like the search engine and we are the computers.
Yes.
And the masters, teachers, and loved ones are the waves between the computer and the search engine. That's what it is. Thank you. Yeah, like ding.
They're like, cool. So you dove in and you're like, okay, what kind of questions were you asking that brought up this understanding of them?
Honestly, the main question I kept asking was why? Anytime I received an answer, just why? Like if I received an answer where it's like, the masters are like this big, like a part of the original expansion of the universe. Why? And then it was just like, because like when it started with like the bigger thing and it split into another thing, their energies were dispersed in different ways and they held different frequencies. Why? You just keep asking why. And
I love it.
I was taught that I have to be really specific about what I ask. You can't ask yes or no questions. You can't do this or that. It's just not true. And it's like, I think it blocks people from being able to fully have access and believe it. I think when we go in there, you have to like check in with your gut and ask the question that's like really sitting there and not be afraid and just keep asking why if you really want to find out. And most of the time, like, it's nothing that's going to hurt us or like scare us or anything. It's a form of expanding our subconscious in a way, so that back to the manifestation talk where we could reprogram ourselves that way because we are little computers. It's really cool.
Right. Totally. Yeah. I love that. I love this kind of liberating permission, because there are a lot of rules, and like the rules can be helpful. Like so for anyone who's not familiar with the Akashic Records, definitely go listen to the first episode with Rohini. But also there's these rules of like, you can't do any drugs or drink any alcohol 24 hours in advance, and like you can't ask the yes or no questions, and like there's all these rules. But when and we kind of talked about this in our interview, I think, either in the interview or in the actual workshop that we did. But it's really, those are there to help try to set people up for success, because a lot of these things can be interference. But if you just do it anyways and see what happens, that's just information. You're not going to get punished. You're not you're going to get like restricted access or anything.
Yeah, I read a book that was like implying things like that would happen.
Wow.
It wasn't Dr. Linda Howe's book, but I was just like, whoa, this sounds scary. And I read that book before I read Dr. Linda Howe's book. So I was like, holy moly. Like, so this is like a weird, like, underworld story or something. I don't even know. But yeah, none of that exists in reality, and we're allowed to be who we are. And a lot of times, here's another thing that I discovered that I think is really helpful and more inclusive is like, just it's Pride Month too. Let's talk about that, because like in the original prayer, Dr. Linda Howe's prayer, it's like, you have to write the name on your taxes no matter what it is, whether you connect with it or not. And I feel like if you're not feeling that in your heart and you're going to seek guidance on your soul, like, of course it's going to be really difficult, right? I don't think that the name even really matters. It's not being recorded in the ledgers so specifically in that way, but as a vibrational frequency that your heart resonates with, And I feel like we need to tear down these like all systems of oppression at this point, whether it's spiritually or not. Like, why are people gatekeeping this? Like, it really bothers me. And sorry.
I just want to say, because you get, you were saying like, for anyone who's not familiar, what Rohini's referring to is to tap into the Akashic Records. There's a thing called this prayer, and you have to use your legal name as you would write for your taxes as part of the prayer. So just for a little context for people. Okay, keep going.
Yeah. I don't even know what I was going to, like, I just get really pissed.
Well, you were talking about, we need to stop gatekeeping these, like, why do we have these systems of oppression, and stop gatekeeping them? Yeah. Like, why are we gatekeeping this?
This is originally why, like, I contacted you too, to continue this conversation, because I feel like it's so important to put it out there. But in this search of just like going through all of the ledgers, and not that I went through all of them, but like just taking this time to really sit with the vibrational frequencies of the Akasha, I learned like a lot of this gatekeeping stuff and oppression came after the 1800s. And prior to that, it didn't exist. It was
like, examples, please.
Yes, of course. So one of the earliest, or there are so many, but one that I'm really focused in on right now is the Vedas. And it's just a part of my journey, which is why.
And tell us what the Vedas are for anyone who's not familiar.
Of course. So the Vedas are like ancient scripts written by rishis who were just, what do you call them?
In India, right?
Yeah, in India. So the rishis are a group of people who over time, over centuries, would sit at the foot of the Himalayas and meditate, channel information, and write it into hymns and information. And, there are 4 different Vedas, Rig Veda, Ayurveda, Upanishads, like a lot came from the Vedas. The Bhagavad Gita came from the idea of the Vedas.
And I mean, doesn't yoga descend from all that? Like,
yes,
all modern. So if anyone's doing modern day yoga, that's like the root.
Yoga's a tiny piece.
A tiny piece. Mm-hmm.
And all of these pieces are put together. It's like a manual. Like what they did was create a manual on how to run our physical computers.
I love it.
And how to align fully with the realm of the Akasha, with the realm of our spirit and whatnot. So the asanas, like the physical yoga practices that we do, are to align your chakras, your energy centers, so that you can receive information easily. The diets that they've come up with in Ayurveda are to reduce inflammation and open up channels so that you can communicate easily. Like it's all just manuals on how you can run your body efficiently so that your energy centers are open and you're not only connected to the earth and grounded, but also connected to the ethers, the Akasha.
So cool.
Yeah. And like just learning about these not discoveries, but learning about this as I'm asking all these questions about the Akasha to the Akasha. They also showed me, so this is something actually I read, and then they showed me this after in the ledgers. I don't know how to even talk about it anymore,
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
The energy you perceived.
Yeah. So there's this woman named Helena Petrova Blavatsky who traveled to Tibet to study with the Tibetan monks for her doctorate. And she realized that when they're sitting in meditation, they're going to this other place to retrieve information. And they would call it Akash, which is derived from the Sanskrit word Akasha. That region has been using it for a really long time. And to describe it in her doctrine, she started calling it the Akashic Records, because she would go in and receive information and gain insight on her questions. So she came back, included it in her doctrine. I think it was like mid 1800s. I don't know the exact date, so sorry about that. You can look it up. It's on the internet.
It's not a pop quiz here.
Yeah. You just don't want to give wrong information,
Exactly.
And then there were 4 people. I can't remember their name right now, but I'll send it to you so you can include it in the description if you like. But there are 4 people who were really enthralled with the world of mysticism, and they started referencing Akashic Records pretty often, which popularized the term Akashic Records. Since then, like Edward Casey, who's a mystic in the early 1900s. He's known as so he would go to sleep, ask a question about his clients who had like some physical or some ailment that he would help with, and then receive the answers as to what he needs to do to help heal them in the morning. And he would apply it and it would work, and people were like blown away. But he popularized the word Akashic Records. And once the Akashic Records started becoming popular, the ideas of the lords of the records and all these things, like the rules, like this, that, all that stuff started coming into play. None of that stuff existed before like the 1900s, really.
But what did exist was this system from the Vedas for people to align, be best open to perceiving.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it wasn't ever about gatekeeping, because the information was being channeled for humanity, not to like resell and repackage. And, capitalism has a way of doing this to a lot of spiritual modalities. But once I started really diving in, I got angrier and angrier. And that's when I contacted you, because I'm like, why are people trying to gatekeep? Like, not give this to everybody, because it's everyone's birthright. Everyone's like already a part of it, whether they like it or not. You're a vibrational frequency on this planet, and it's yours too. And you should be able to have access to it if you want to. You don't have to, but if you want to, like, why are there ideas where it's like, nope, you're using the wrong name? No, these lords of the records are protecting this thing from you. You can't get to it, or all these different types of gatekeeping that.
Oh, go ahead.
I don't know, that aren't for the greater good.
I'm wondering, do you think that it's this gatekeeping comes about in because, our modern societies, especially if these came about in like the 1800s and probably an industrial revolution just getting started, it's like kind of the beginning of our modern world that we live in, certain ways. Do you think that this gatekeeping came about because there wasn't actually the rootedness in an ancient system that was like, here's how to actually align your chakras, and just it sounds like here's how to best attune to this information, and instead it was like it just like got translated through the dysfunction of our society.
Yeah, totally. I mean, that's such a good point. I didn't even think about it in that regard. All I was thinking about it wasn't with the lens of capitalism on it.
I mean, that's the lens it came through. Why is dysfunctional?
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's something that's unseen, right? And it can be repackaged any way you want it to. Right. And a group of people are going to believe you no matter what, because they can't see it. It's like, it's really easy to resell and like put whatever you want, whatever bow you want around it,
Yeah. Yeah.
But I loved, I really appreciate you bringing up like the idea of not being anchored into like an ancient tradition where there's grounding. I think grounding is really important. You're right. It's the grounding.
Just this like energy. I don't really know anything about the Vedas, but
but I mean, yes, you do. You just like brought up a pretty good point.
I mean, I haven't studied them. I'm not scholarly. Some things I know are definitely so much I've learned is rooted in them. Yeah. And I'm like, maybe I should study them. But yeah. So from this, you're kind of this rebel mystic. You're like, I'm just going to ask why. And I'm going to like push this boundary and see what really happens, even though they said you can't or you shouldn't or don't or whatever, or you can't do it that way. Like, what else is coming around from your rebel adventures in the Akasha?
I love that. I didn't really think of myself as a rebel, but
I mean, you are rebelling against the system here.
I am. I'm just kidding.
Are you though?
I don't know. Maybe I am a part of it. I don't know anymore.
Dude, time for some shadow work.
Right. Let's do it. But I mean, there's just so much. I don't know. We're going to cover a lot of it in the Earth Speak workshop too. So I don't want to
give it all away.
Not even give it away, but just like bore people, because there's like, you could add so much. We could talk about this for like 5 hours,
That's cool. I mean, I would be down to, just saying. Maybe it would be more fun to do that in a comfy room with some cups of tea and a bunch of people on cushions, and we could hang out and talk about it. Just seeding some potentials here.
I'm there already.
or in the forest or something. Yeah, that'd be fun.
It. Yeah.
So I mean, that's a good thing. So, there's a bunch more things I want to talk about, but you just mentioned the workshop, and, we've had you on for a workshop before where you taught how to read the Akashic Records, which you now are just calling the Akasha, same thing. And, where you're in this workshop, so much as you've learned so much, and you've kind of pushed the boundaries and tested some buttons and things, and come up with new permission and freedom and potentials and pathways. So do you want to tell us like what you're going to be offering in this workshop? Just real quick. We don't have to get too deep into it, but just since you mentioned it.
Yeah, of course. I mean, so one of the ways that I found, let me rephrase. One of the biggest questions I get asked is, I'm having trouble accessing it. What else can I do? I've tried the prayer. I've tried meditating. I've tried this. I've tried that. And it doesn't work for me. Like, what else can I do? And we're going to go over our energetic body and how to open our channels. Because that's ultimately what we're doing. The prayer doesn't matter. It doesn't freaking matter. The only important thing is the intention here. And the prayer is there to flex our muscles so that we learn how to apply the intention to the specific place we're going to, but it doesn't matter if like the prayer doesn't work for you. Maybe there's another way. And that's what we'll do. We'll spend a lot of time troubleshooting. We'll break down the energetic body and the channels within it and really dive deep so that people can feel the shifts. You know, that little step back we took?
Yeah.
We're going to do that with our whole body so that we can learn how to intentionally connect. And if we are connecting, like, what does that look like for you? Because it's different for everybody and everyone's expecting it to be this way or that way. Or like, I didn't see anything. I didn't hear anything. Like ghosts didn't come down and talk to me. Like, you know, I don't know what people are thinking, but it's an unseen element and we'll spend a lot of time uncovering that part of it.
Mm-hmm. Cool. That's really exciting. I love it. Yeah. So I love that, you know, what it doesn't matter if you do the prayer. It's like, are your channels open? And thinking about this, I'm wondering, and maybe you don't have an answer. I don't know. But for something like the Vedas, they are so ancient. I wonder what's the same and what's shifted in the progression of time that maybe we no longer have to do, or if there's a quicker reaction time, or, you know, it's almost like, is modern day where we are now not as, what's the right word?
It's not as
bound
difficult.
by, not as difficult, not as bound, but like if we don't have to do things as rigorously as maybe they did back in the day when the Vedas were channeled. Totally wondering here.
You know, I actually do have a little bit of insight on this because I not only grew up in it, I grew up in a household where we studied the Vedas. My dad preached about the Vedas. We traveled around India talking about the Vedas.
So you were deeply steeped in the Vedas.
I'm telling you, like, that's why, like, that's my lens right now.
Okay, cool.
But the world has changed a lot. Just as you said, you know, and energetically, like everything in the world, in this universe, not world, in the universe constantly expands as we do, as our Earth does, as our solar system does, as the Milky Way constantly expanding. There's no way the same energies are around the same way that they were previously. And with this expansion, like we don't have to sit on a mountaintop for 20 years to open up our channels to be able to access this information. We've expanded in a way that it's like internet connection. Maybe it's like more like AOL right now because it's like it's not as it's not as sharp, right? Because not everyone's able to connect. But that's just something that'll happen over time. A lot of the stuff in the Vedas that people are like possibly still holding on to, but a lot of the information that isn't necessary anymore has already fallen off. It's like a leaf, you know, the Vedas is like a huge tree. And as it ages, the leaves start falling off. So the information that we don't need from it anymore, like, is very obvious. It's like on the ground now and it's like
it's composting,
different color. Yeah. And the information that can be really useful is what will resonate with us, which is the energy center being open and how to like fully ground, how to expand, how to keep inflammation down in our body so that it's working properly, you know, so that we can have an open, clear channel. Like things like that still apply. Not everything in it still applies, especially the way it was written, because a lot of it is in hymns too. Like some of the Veda, a big part of the Vedas is in hymns, and
in what?
In like hymns and like song.
Oh, okay, cool.
In the way like chanting but a lot of that information is really relevant for then and not now.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So,
which I think speaks to another point of like, even though the Akasha is as old as the universe, you know, and people have been studying it probably as long as they've been, whatever the first monkey ate mushrooms and started to become human. I don't know. I mean, one theory there. I like that theory.
I like that theory. I'm into it.
So like they probably have been, you know, tapping into this and like trying to learn how to program these spacesuits that we call our bodies connected to our spirits for our realities and da 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 da. And even though it's so ancient and even though there's so many old systems, it doesn't mean we throw out all the systems here about what I'm going to say, but things constantly need to be updated for the modern lens.
Yeah.
So people can actually apply it to their lives. Cause like we don't live in the same kind of ways back then.
No, we don't.
So yeah.
We really don't. Our bodies even work differently than they did back then. You know?
Cool. Yeah.
Like we still have the same bodies, but we're eating different food. And we're made up of what we eat. So it's
and we're living different lives with different stressors and inputs and outputs. Yeah.
Yeah, we're like talking to each other through a screen.
So bizarre. It's so
yeah.
Yeah, cool. So I love that you're steeped in the Vedas and you're able to offer that perspective, and what stands clear and true to you is as something still very relevant to us today is tending our energetic bodies. I mean, that's like one of the foundations of what we do in our collective is, and I'm so excited to learn more because my personal journey has been the more I learn to tend my body, both energetically and physically with inflammation, reducing inflammation by eating a better diet. It just feels better. You know, I don't feel as sick. I don't have as many symptoms. And by tending my energetic body, that's my psychic senses and my awareness and my like relationship with the co-creative universe have just blossomed over the past decade that I've been doing this. And it's because of those things, you know, it's like, and it's not that you have to do it to earn it. It's like, actually, we just stopped doing the things that were disallowing us from perceiving what's already there.
That's it. We just have to continue doing what we were already doing a long time. You're right. It's nothing foreign. It's something that's been a part of humanity forever. It just like stopped for a very short period of time, actually.
Right.
But
long enough that we've all become so brainwashed that the physical is all that exists.
Yeah.
That's like blows my mind. And it just blows my mind that that's the like common belief of the day. I just can't even.
I'm so right there with you because people will pick up a cell phone and send a text and not question it. Like, how weird is this that we can do that? Like, I don't understand. Like, we're talking to, like, again, we're talking to each other from a screen, but spirits are not real. The soul is not real.
Exactly.
Like, what are you talking about? You're sending informational waves through a tiny little chip and you can't believe more than your physical body. Like, I don't understand.
It's wild. My prayer is that people realize that have a awareness of their own energetic selves and then have agency over it. And I feel like that's what you're going to help teach us. And using these tools and gaining these awarenesses to me is empowerment and liberation.
Yes, absolutely. That's why the work you do, like I'm such a big fan of Earth Speak for this reason. The work y'all do is like so powerful. We need more people doing stuff like this. Yeah.
I mean, I'm glad you're doing it too. Thank you. I agree. It's like we got to do it, and we all have our own like little translated ways of doing it and playing with it, and you know, it's like it's fun. It's fun.
I love it.
Yeah. I want to talk about something that you mentioned before we got on, and because like the idea of imposter syndrome, and I think this is, you know, when you brought it up, I was like, oh, I want to talk about it, but I saved all of my talk about it for the show because I would have just talked about it forever. So I want to say something about like, for me, I even as wholly rooted as I am in us as energetic beings and in us as connected energetically and being able to communicate across time and space using only the technology of our bodies and consciousness and like being able to communicate with spirits and our intuition and all that. There is so much in me through the years and even up to today sometimes that wonders like, is this really happening? Am I doing it right? Am like me as I just recently, you know, I have cultivated my clairvoyance over the past 10 years and I've never done it as like a job. or anything. I just do it because I like it and it's useful. And I hadn't done it in so long. And I was like, wait, is this really even like real or working? So I just offered, for people to come get free readings. And I'm like, oh yeah, duh, it's real. Like, yeah, it works. And because I hadn't done it in so long. And I'm like, oh wow, this like, there was this disbelief, there's always this like, not always, but there's often this little like disbelief, like, are you good enough? Is this really happening? Like, are you doing it right? This is where I'm coming from around imposter syndrome. I'd love to hear, does this resonate for you? And like, what do you have to add, or what's different for you, or what was coming up,
I go through the same exact thing every single day. Like,
okay.
I mean, like a big part of it is, in my experience, our programming, right? And what we truly believe. Like, our belief is the most powerful thing that we have in this world, at least in my understanding, because it governs our ability. And if something goes outside of like this belief system, it's hard for us to wrap our head around it. And here's the thing, like I'm studying the chakras a lot, the energy centers a lot, and like between the ages of 0 to 3 is where a lot of our belief system gets ingrained. And these belief systems are the most difficult to reprogram, especially if you've experienced trauma, or like, you've had like the bullies in school, like make fun of you because you're different or something like that. Like, it just like, it gets affirmed more and more. And the belief system of I'm not good enough. Who am I? What am I doing in this world? Gets ingrained more and more. And I feel like a lot of people in the work we do, in any work, really, anyone I talk to, like I talk to like CEOs of like major companies who are like, I don't really know what I'm doing.
I love that.
Oh my God. Did this email come off wrong? And I'm like, I think that too. You think that? Oh my goodness. So like, to me, the story is that no one really knows what they're doing, and we're all pretending to do our best.
Yeah. Might as well make it up.
Might as well make it up. Because in reality, we're like co-creating. But again, like, would you trust somebody who like came out and was just like totally full of themselves and was like, I don't have imposter syndrome, I'm totally right? Like, I would not trust that person, first off.
Well, let me think. I'm going to think about this. I do not have imposter syndrome. I wouldn't trust them if they said I'm totally right, because I'd be like, who the fuck are you to know to be totally right? But I would be like, I trust that you trust yourself.
Yeah.
In a way. But I don't think imposter syndrome means
it's
a spectrum. It's not a binary. It's not like either you trust yourself or you don't. It's like, but I don't know.
I think it's tied into discernment too, the imposter
syndrome.
I
think so. Yeah.
And
integrity.
Integrity. And those are like two really like important tools to have as a human being. Yeah, like we can't just believe everything we see. You can't, because that's how you come to the conclusion, is questioning it, right?
Right.
So not believing in our ability only in a way makes our ability stronger after we do the full spectrum dance.
I feel it because, okay, and back to your question, like, I'm a podcaster and I've done over 200 interviews or more. I've lost count. I don't even know. So I'm like, I don't 100% know what I'm doing, but I don't have imposter syndrome. I'm like, no, I am a podcaster through and through. Like, I don't have imposter syndrome here, but I definitely don't know what I'm doing. But I just show up and I make it up as I go, and it looks like I know what I'm doing, and that's cool. And I know some tips and tricks and strategies and technologies and skills, but I'm still like, I don't know, I'm just hanging out with people. It's like, what are we doing here? Right? Yeah. So like, I guess just exploring this idea of what, I don't know, just wanted to explore that more.
I like it. I faced a big imposter syndrome thing earlier this year, and it's when I like decided to fully dive into this spiritual side of myself. And it's not just the spiritual side of myself, but I brought in my literal thinking mind, like I brought in the whole idea of the spiritual business thing. And prior to that, it was like my business was on one side, and that's where I lived in like the normal world or whatever you want to call
it. And your business that is very not in the spiritual world. Your business is
all.
like about bartending.
Yeah.
Which doesn't mean that bartending can't be spiritual, but just go ahead.
Yeah. No, but it like seriously, like it's in a whole different realm. But even in that, like I was always like empowerment, like it was like bringing that kind of stuff in. Like,
of course, you're
the
Rohini.
Confidence, believe in yourself. Yeah, it was still me, you know, but with the lens of bartending. But the people who come to you are in a whole different world than, like, let's say when I'm teaching about the Akashic Records or something. So I was like, you know what? I want to meld my two worlds together and see what'll happen and teach people what I've learned as a business owner and as a person who works on their spiritual self, like nonstop, you know, and like see what happens. And just the connection of those two created like the biggest imposter syndrome for me. Like, who am I to like think that I know what I'm doing in either realm? Who am I to think that my way is better than anybody else's? Who am I to step out and like fully shine in this way? Do I deserve happiness? Am I enough? You know, can I live to my full potential even? Is like all of these questions come up, and it really put me in a downward spiral of trying to figure out what the root of it is. And, you know, the root of the imposter syndrome for me was, am I enough? Like, am I worth it? Am I worthy? And it really did start with like, what are they going to think, to like, what do I think about myself? You know? And working on that part of oneself is like a really difficult journey. It's not easy work, because it's like flashbacks to like childhood trauma, you know? Like,
yeah, totally.
Hearing you're not good enough, and you're like, but I am. I'm gonna go hug my little baby self. Be like, you know what? You're good enough. Everyone on this planet is here for a reason, and we're all good enough. And we can be ourselves. We can come out and do the things we want to do in this world. And the only person we need permission from is ourselves, nobody else. Sorry, another rant.
Not sorry. I mean, you're perfectly free to be sorry, but I'm here for it. I'm loving it. And it's literally what I asked you about.
No, you're right. See, am I good enough today? Answer that right.
I have no idea, because I don't know what we're doing. So
I don't know. Yeah. What are we doing?
Oh my gosh. If anyone's still listening, then you're probably pretty wacky too. We're all
great company now.
Yeah, we're all mad here. I love that. In your head, you know, something that goes through my head about stuff is like, who am I to teach this? Because like, I really truly believe that there are as many truths as there are people. Like, there is I don't believe there's one objective truth for our subjective human experiences. This just doesn't, I just can't even. I'm like, And this is like a huge thing. I think it's like, I think teaching things is like, okay, here's how it is, and I'm going to teach you how it is. And I think there's especially in our world, like you and I are both marketers and business people, and then there's so much like bro marketing who's like, here's how you have your 6-figure business, your 7-figure business, and you got to do these strategies. Here, I figured it out, and you can too. Just do my 17 steps process and give me $5,000. I'm like, and I'm like, it just. And believe me, I've like done the processes and the steps, too. And I even love them. Like, my analytical, logical mind eats it up. It's just like, yeah, give me. But then my spirit's like, yo, they don't fucking know. Like, they didn't know in order to get here, and now they're looking back. And this is what I'm saying here is from my coach Stephanie, she's like, because she helps break this down for me. She just sees it, so I love it how she sees it. But she's like, they didn't have this process to get to the point they got to. They got to that point not knowing what they were doing, and then looked back and said, here's this process that I'm going to package up and sell people so they can get here too. And it may or may not work. And that's fine. Like, I'm not saying this is a bad process, but for me, a lot of this it's in direct opposition of this feeling of like, there are as many truths as there are people, and there's no one way that's right. And it's very challenging to even run a business with that kind of lens, with that kind of belief system, because it's like, all of marketing is like, oh, you don't have this and you need to learn this. Let me teach you the way. And I just can't even. I'm like, I don't know. Maybe this is right for you. This is something I've done that I really like. But if you don't like it, modify it or don't do it. I don't like, this is just so. And I think it's so teaching things has been kind of a challenge for me, imposter syndrome wise, because I feel like I have so much to teach, but I'm also like, who am I to say what this is how it is? I can't like saying this is how it is very challenging for me because I'm like, I don't know how it is for you. This is how it is for me. And that qualifier, this is how it is for me, that makes it possible. And giving people permission to have their own experience and for it to be how it is for them or not. Like, so this is a very big thing that I struggle with imposter syndrome over and over and over again. I'm like, I want to teach these things, but I also don't want to like put this on people.
No, totally. Oh my goodness.
Thanks for listening to my rant.
I love it. I love your rants. Thank you. Because it like, it's so true. And like, not to like, I swear I'm not trying to like plug this, but like
plug it. Let's hear it.
In like the whole spiritual business thing that I do, there are no techniques taught in that way. And like all we focus
there's no
on,
seven steps to 7 figures.
No, there's no like you have to email people 10 billion times. It's not about that. It's not about the
strategies. It's not about the tactics.
Everyone's strategy is going to be different based on their experience, their business, whatever. And like this applies to all life. Everyone's strategy in life is going to be totally different. But what really matters is, are you freaking doing what your heart is telling you to do? So we spend a lot of time on opening up our energy centers. Like that's what my business course is. It's not
so you could be the channel and receive that from the Akasha. Cool. Just through a business lens.
Freaking gut, like from yourself, from your like intuition, like whatever you want to call it, your higher self. Like there are so many names for it, but like
your gut self.
Teaching
it's just not as sexy as higher self.
Your gut self.
Like all these microbes.
Yeah. I'm just getting the funniest visual.
That's what I was getting. That's why I had to say it. I was like, oh God, your gut self's really partying down there. All right, keep going. So I totally do.
No, but you're right. Like the teaching thing is so hard. It has to be like, I feel like it's really important to always note that it's from my perspective. This has worked, but what's my, like, what level of privilege am I in? What's my past experience? Like these, the thing that you were talking about.
Where's your nervous system at right now?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do you know how to regulate your nervous system? Right? Mm-hmm.
No, but like the whole like strategy thing is like really, really annoying because again, like I just want to go back to what you said because it hits home for me. 7 steps, the 7 strategies, the 7 things to like 7 figures, whatever. These people are making money by selling this thing. Like that's how they became successful.
They're teaching you how to make money by teaching people how to make money, which is like a whole pyramid scheme thing on its own.
Hell yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is. I just wanted to get to that point.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing that up. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, I know.
Let's regulate our nervous systems now.
I know.
Open our channels. Probiotics. And receive the 7 figures. Seriously though, if you made a brand of probiotics that was like, take 7 of these a day and you'll make 7 figures, people would buy it.
People would buy it.
Oh my God. It's a good thing I am slightly ethical because I would totally do that if I wasn't.
This is the sad thing too, Natalie. Like this is like... It's a sign of the times. Like people are struggling.
We are struggling. Not like, we, but general.
We
collectively.
are though. Yeah, collectively. Even the people who are hoarding money are struggling. Like we're like everyone's like trying to survive, and that's their reaction. Like they think they have to hoard all this money.
Hoard. Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And then some other people's reaction is, "I'm not good enough," and they won't make that or whatever. You know, like everyone's just trying to survive and like have a freaking human experience on this planet. Why not give each other a break here and there? Sheesh, Louise.
Right. So, and it's interesting to say that too, because what is happening with all of these, why is this person hoarding? Of course, there's past history, trauma, but then literally, how do we give ourselves a break? How do we give each other a break? And, earlier you were talking about being in the present moment. Okay, easier said than done, but it's also not that difficult, y'all. Like, you could do it. It's not impossible. It just takes desire, and it takes the desire to and the willingness to try.
Yeah.
Make space for it. And maybe it'll take you 10 years. I don't know. But maybe it'll take you 10 seconds. Take my probiotics. It'll happen instantly.
Natalie's 7-figure probiotics coming to a store near you.
These probiotics will bring you into the present moment the second they hit your gut, and I promise you. And if not, your money back guarantee.
Zoom in on the microbes.
The microbes activate your gut self. It's a direct line to your higher self. Your intuition will explode.
Gosh.
Oh my God.
The email list for that right now.
oh, I'm already on the list. I'm there. Okay. Oh my God. We're so silly. I love it. Like, give them a break. Like, okay, this person's hoarding. This person's like struggling, can't make enough. There's so much going on. And, there's things we have power over and things we don't. And I like to come back to what do we have agency with in our lives? And I do feel like, for me, this is again all through the lens of me, not this is how it absolutely is, everybody. But what I have agency over, how do I give myself a break? How do I give them a break? Is through cultivating that energetic awareness. That for me has been so huge because it takes me out of that mind and the looping thoughts that keep saying, you're going to die unless you get as much money as you possibly can and hoard it. That's a looping thought. That's just a program on loop. So how do we give ourselves a break? We break the loop. How do we do that? We become, first of all, aware that the loop is happening, and then have that energetic agency to stop looping. And that is that's there's no one way to do it. That can be shadow work. It can be light work. It can be therapy. It can be exercise. It can be affirmations. Like, it could be so many neuronal reprogramming, whatever. Like, it can be so many things, but that's where there's a whole freaking buffet of tools for you.
Yeah.
But how do we give ourselves a break? Break the freaking loop. And that you have to, now look at me. I'm going into like, you have to, because it's so how we're programmed though. It's like, for me, I believe that I have to cultivate that energetic awareness and become my own agency of transformation in that energetic body, in the energetic body. And like, how do you do that? Well, come take our workshop. Look, see, I still sold something. Rohini, I'm still selling. But it's true. And I'm not doing it because I'm like, this is what, if you don't do this, you're going to die. You're never going to figure it out. It's like, does this opportunity to experience your energetic agency and awareness excite you? Then come freaking try it out. If not, you're going to try something else. Maybe you say, F you, Natalie. I don't even believe that. Cool. I love that. Like, so this is just the game we're playing in this corner of the universe right now. And do you want to play it with us? And that's like, I'm just like, that's how I like to live life.
I love it.
Thanks.
It's so refreshing being around you. I love it.
Thanks.
Just to add a tiny little tidbit too.
I just nailed my water because I was laughing.
Sorry.
That's not your fault. Oh my God.
This is my favorite podcast episode.
We're so silly. This is awesome. Okay, what were you going to say to add to that?
Like, to add to that, what do you think about the idea, like when we bring it all down to like a seed point, right? Like having the agency and everything like that. But like, what would that seed be? Because like, as you were talking, I was taking it in and it resonated so deeply and it felt so good to hear. But what if that seed, like at the bottom of all of it, is giving ourselves permission to just like love ourselves? Like, what if that's the thing that needs to be watered? Like, whether we're hoarding money or like thinking we're not good enough to make any. What if we give ourselves permission to just freaking love ourselves? Like, how radical would that be?
I love it. I love it. And you know what? I feel like you've brought it back. You've integrated shadow work and light work into the one because it's like, what if we can just love ourselves and give ourselves permission? And ultimately, I feel like that's it. Is like love. Shadow work is love. Light work is love.
Mm-hmm.
It's integrating back into love. So I love that seed. I'm into it. The seed of love.
Yeah, the seed. Making shirts, buy them over at Etsy. Seed of love.
Hey, every probiotic capsule has at least 7 seeds of love in it. When you eat it, you will be full of love, radiant. Nothing can touch you.
And you'll have 7 fingers.
And you'll be so sexy. Like, you'll be the sexiest sexy beast that ever walked this planet.
Yeah. I don't even know what to add to that. That's
you'll be hot and rich. What more?
Yeah. Like so
and
hot.
young. You'll be so young, barely legal.
Like
oh God, what's happening in my brain? But you're like rich and hot. Oh God. All right. If you're still listening, we love you.
We love you. Thank you.
I'm not even high. This is like just normal every day.
High on life.
So we tapped into the silly channel here today.
Yeah.
All of it, but I really though, to bring it back down to the seed, I think that is. And like I'm gonna bring it back to the energetic awareness though, because it's like love, like discerning love. We get so caught up in our thinking, coming back down into energy and being, I don't know, it's like so cool. I don't know, it's so cool. We're so much more powerful than we know. And being able to like, and the whole awareness and awakening and all this is, I really do feel like for me, it is so I can accept and love all of these parts of myself. The ones that are taboo and that I want to reject, and also the ones that are fucking fabulous and that are totally scary to embody and be in the world, and to love all of them and love myself, and that lets me love you and love the world and love everybody and like love. So thanks for bringing it back down to the love seed.
Ah, thanks. My pleasure. Thanks for guiding me there.
Totally. Wow. Well, what else do you offer, and where can people find you, Rohini?
Well, you can find me on magicincline.com. I generally teach Akashic Records workshops. I'll be teaching an Akashic Records practitioner course this September.
That's for people who want to read records for other people?
Yes.
Cool.
Yes. So excited. Yeah, I did it last year and it was so beautiful. I made like best friends out of it, which is
That's
like
cool.
Amazing. Yeah, I love it. And we also have there's so many people, it's just me. I also have a monthly membership thing that starts actually, here's the thing. It was supposed to start summer solstice, but it's not going to start summer solstice. And I don't have a new date for it, but it's going to be awesome. Okay.
Stay tuned. Get on the email list to find out.
Yeah.
Follow Instagram to find out.
There's a wait list for it. And the link's on Instagram, and I'll send you a link too. But it's the thing that I was trying to plug, I guess. But it's a spiritual business accelerator program.
Okay, cool.
Opulent Magnifier.
Yeah. Opulent Magnifier. Beautiful. Yeah. And so people, that's is that your 6-month basically mentorship or
so it's a 6
incubator?
It's a 6-month commitment because integration's a really big part of it.
Right? Everything's like, let's do 6 weeks, and then it's like $2,000. And I'm like, whoa, wait a second. I need like a year to integrate this.
Yeah. This like we're creating with purpose. This is really for like maybe someone who's had like a spiritual awakening, or somebody who has realized their purpose in life and they don't know how to bring it to fruition. So we explore our energetic body a lot through this program. So if you're interested.
Awesome. Comes with a free subscription to my gut pills.
Yeah.
My probiotic gut self.
And if you buy it today, it comes with a t-shirt as well.
You get a free you get a free gift of the love seed. You know what? This probiotic brand could be called Love Seed, or it could be called Activate Your your gut self. Like we just made a brand.
You know what? Activate Your higher self is the tagline.
Or Activate Your gut
Love
self.
Seed.
Yeah, is the brand. Yeah, I think so.
Love Seed. Yeah.
All right, y'all. Someone go make it and then send me a bottle.
Yeah, me too. Okay, cool.
All right, and so just 7 pills a day to 7 figures. It's easy. Never been easier. So you'll be hot and rich. So, okay, all of those are, of course, in the show notes. Not the love seed, y'all. That doesn't exist in the tangible physically yet, but it's now in the ethers.
It's gonna exist.
It's gonna exist. It might. Someone's probably gonna email us and be like, "Actually, love seed does exist." And it's gonna.
Sorry if love seed does exist.
Right?
We're just plugging your product then.
We just tapped right in. And so, yeah, of course, all of your links, is magicincline.com, right?
Yeah.
So, yep, they can and find you Magic and Klein on Instagram. And what about your You're doing a podcast too. Tell us about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I do a little podcast. It's kind of like a here and there kind of thing, but I love it. It's just called Magic Inclined. And, the whole idea of it is to give you inspiration to connect deeper with that inner light. That's all it is.
Beautiful. Radical.
Yeah.
What more could you need in life?
I don't know.
Awesome.
I don't know. Love seed.
Love seed. Love seed. Buy it now. Okay.
I know we can go on forever.
Huh? Just be silly. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show again and being silly and for coming and teaching at EarthSpeak again. And we're super stoked and yeah, just super grateful. Thank you.
My pleasure. I love being with you. Thank you for having me again.
Thanks.
All the roads are windy.
Listen to over 200 free EarthSpeak podcast episodes on your favorite podcast app and visit earthspeak.love to learn about our collective community and workshops.